Hi everyone, welcome to this painting tutorial. I'm so happy you decided to join me today for this one. I can't wait to show you how to paint this. Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel for another painting tutorial. Thanks so much for joining me today. We're going to be working on an 8x8 stretched canvas. I pre-painted it dark gray. I applied 2 coats to a white canvas and I dried it off. And now let's go over the brushes I'm going to be using, and I'll have a link below where you can purchase these. These are my own set of brushes, 5-piece set in collaboration with Craftimo. Starting off here with a 1-inch mop brush, 20 flat, 14 filbert, number 3 round, and number 2 rigger. And then let's go over the colors I'll be using for this painting today, which I'll have listed below this video in the description box as well. Titanium white, neon orange, neon yellow warm, neon rose. The neon colors here I'm using are by Holbein, but you can use any that you have. I've got Dioxazine purple, light blue violet, and light olive green, all by Liquitex Basics Acrylics, as well as the white. You can use any colors you want, however, this is just what I'm using today, so I'll have a full list of all of these down below for you. The first step for this painting is working on the sky, the background. For this step, I'll be using my number 20 flat brush and the following colors: white, light blue violet, and then just a little bit of the neon warm yellow. So let's go into our white, scoop up some of that blue, and just start here in the right corner. The reason why I'm adding white with my blue is because I know painting on a dark canvas that it will dry a little bit darker. So to counteract that, it's a good idea to add a little bit of white. I'm going to add a little bit of water to my brush, some more white paint, and spread it all around. If yours is showing the canvas through a little too much, maybe you've thinned your paint out too much with water, you can easily just dry this layer off and then go over top again with more blue and white. Okay, I'm going to take a little bit of the warm yellow and white, a little bit of water, more blue, and let those colors blend into one another. The next color I'm going to take white again with a little bit of that yellow and a little bit of light olive green. I'm going to go along the bottom here and just work that up into the blue. I'm going to add a little bit more blue, a little bit more white. You'll see the color we're making here, very light mossy green. Now you can add more blue if you want, a little bit more white. I'm going to rinse my brush out. And that takes us to our next brush, which is 1-inch mop brush. Now you can use this wet or dry. Normally I recommend using a dry mop brush if you want really poofy looking trees and bushes, but however for this step it doesn't matter. Mine's a little bit damp from a painting I did earlier, so it's just fine if it's a little bit out of shape like this. What I want to do is just go right into my light olive green and just tap the bottom of my brush like this, and I'm going to start right about here where that sky meets the dark gray canvas. Okay, just a little bit like that. And then the next color I'm going to be taking, without washing my brush off, is my Dioxazine purple. I'm going to take a little bit more of that green in there. It'll give you a really pretty earthy color. And I'm going to start tapping over the dark gray, going up into part of that green. And then just kind of swirling my brush around just to get the rest of this covered. The next brush I'm going to be using is my number 3 round brush. I'm going to dry this off first, and then we're going to come in with some tree trunks. Okay, so now that it's all dried off, I'm going to take my number 3 round brush with some water, and I'm going to take purple with that light olive green. Roll it around, get it mixed up, and then get it on the tip of your brush like this. And then we're just going to add a bunch of lines. Now you don't have to take too long to do this. The quicker and freer you are with it, the more natural it's going to tend to look. You can make some skinnier, some thicker. I recommend having a little bit of each. So I'll have some a little bit darker and thicker where I'm using more purple and less water. Okay, I'm going to rinse my brush out. And I'm going to go back over to my 1-inch mop brush, and I'm going to take a little bit of, just a little bit of white and that neon warm yellow. And I'm just going to start tapping in a little bit of light back in here. I want to have this kind of behind, and then we'll have some branches over top after we're done this part. So we want to have little areas of light coming in between the moss and the bushes and the trees. I'm going to pick up a little bit more, and I'm going to add a little bit of that neon orange as well. So this is what the bottom of my brush looks like. I'm just going to add little hints. So less is more when it comes to this stage and this step. We really want to focus on the beautiful sunlight here and some leaves to be the brightest. Now, if you happen to add a little bit too much, you can always dry it off and then go over with and tone it. So add a thin layer or dry brush of this olive green with a little bit of purple. I'm just going to add a little bit here. I'm going to be coming over with a darker layer next. I'm picking up little hints of the purple here as well as I'm doing this. And that's kind of nice because then it gets you some brown tones in there that are important. Okay, so I'm going to take a little bit of this olive green, a little bit more purple. I haven't washed my brush out. I've got quite a muddy color here. A lot of people think that muddy colors are bad. Not necessarily. They're really important to have as a nice balance. Just coming in here in between the tree bases, the tree trunk bases, and a few little areas here, kind of sloping down, turning my brush, giving a little bit of a hilly movement, little slopes here and there. I'm going to go over top of part of this bright one here. I just want the edges of it to kind of glow, just a little pop of color there. I go in here, add a little bit more over top of that. Okay, the next step takes us to our number 14 filbert brush. Now what I'm going to do is go into my purple and my green. And I'm just going to start tapping in a few branches, needles, and leaves. I'm coming in with my rigger brush a little later on after we're done this step for some really thin branches. So you can just use these filbert brushes for all sorts of branches and foliage. They're really essential brushes to have in your collection of supplies. And come right over top there and just pull a little bit of that tree trunk in front to make it a little more visible. A little bit more green. I mentioned at the beginning of this video when I was going through colors, I want you guys to just kind of choose colors. You don't have to use the colors that I'm using. I want you guys to choose colors that you love, because that's a huge part of being a happy painter. You know, if you see a tutorial that you want to try, but you're like, oh, I don't want to do this one because I really don't like those colors, or maybe I don't have those colors. You just improvise. You use what you have and you paint it your own ability. Take what you can get out of the tutorial, get inspired by it, use it to create your own style of painting. Okay, and I'm going to come right down here with a few more branches, make this look just a little bit thicker in here. Okay, I'm going to rinse my brush out. Okay, for the next step, it takes us to our number 2 rigger brush. I'm going to add some thinner, more delicate branches, but I'm not going to be too careful about this. I know from all the years of teaching how stressful painting branches can be for beginners, and what makes it stressful is that You all think, including myself when I first started painting, we all think that branches have to be perfect and we have to take so much time and be so careful, and it's hard to do that. It's hard to control a liner brush. You need to just loosen up and feel free, and branches are all different. They're very crooked and misshapen, so tell yourself that while you're painting them and just let go and relax and enjoy the process. The liner brush, well, liner rigger brush can be your friend. It doesn't always have to be your enemy. So I just add some water to my brush. I'm gonna roll it around in my purple here. Really want to have thin paint in order for it to flow nicely. You should be able to just, without any ease or pressure, do that. If you can't, go back for more water. Okay, so I'm just gonna start coming in here, adding some little wiggles and squiggles. You can add them straight across, you can add them kind of going up. A little twist and roll and pull here and there. Some you may want to have a little bit thicker for these darker trees, maybe bigger trees, so then you can just use a little bit more paint and less water. But very little pressure. You shouldn't have to push hard. And don't forget about all those little twigs and little broken branches and stems and things down here. Got a few of those. I'm going to go over this tree trunk here. I like the way it stands out from the others. It kind of gives us a interesting perspective, right? Like we're kind of maybe sitting down and kind of looking up. So it's easy to do that if you just make your tree trunks really skinnier there, and then all of a sudden get really big here. So we can exaggerate that even more by doing that. But I think I really like the one tree like this. I'm just going to only have the one. Now there's another color that I want to add on this painting, but to do that I'm going to dry this all off first, and then you'll see how I add a bright color that you would not think of adding and how it's going to look so pretty. Okay, so the color that I want to add, I'm going to use, I'll use my number 3 round brush for this. One of my all-time favorite colors and shades is the Neon Rose by Holbein. This is a really just gorgeous, gorgeous color. And I'm going to go over some of these trees with it. Now I'm going to add, I'll add a little hint of light blue violet to some areas as well. And now that this is dry, you can kind of scumble over or filter over some areas. I'm going to take a little bit of white, blue, and that Neon Rose. And a little hint of it here and there. Little touches like this can really make a difference. And we are going to have some rocks in here. So I'm just going to start adding these rocks in little half circles like this. Same way I would paint clouds. Take a little bit extra blue. Make them different sizes. So you don't want them to all be the same size. And then they're going to get smaller and smaller as they get further or go further away there. I have some larger ones here. Add a little bit of white, mix that up. Take a little bit more white. Then I'm going to come in with a little bit of green and purple again. Come in here, add a little bit of moss. I don't want to make this area too bright. I want to have these trees come down a little bit lower here. And then come in and around with a little bit more purple. Really build up some contrast and some foreground here. Just kind of scoop around loosely though. Otherwise, it'll look like you're trying to make everything too perfect and neat and tidy. Just adding a little bit of green, but mostly purple here. Just gonna add a little bit more. Okay, I'm going to come down here and add a few more rocks. Maybe we've got a little creek bed, shallow. Could have a little bit of water coming down. And I'm going to add a little bit of white, a little bit of the warm yellow. Add a few little dabs of light back here. Little flecks of gold. That's what it looks like. And a bit on the rocks here. I'm going to come down here and add a little bit of shadows at the base of these rocks and over part of them. A little bit of blue. This will give us a nice cool shadow on these rocks. I'm going to take some purple and some green. And layer over a little bit in here. A little hint of the orange with the yellow and the white. Okay, so I'm gonna come down here and add a little bit more hint of waterfall. A little line here, maybe a little line there of water flowing down. Just a few little pulls and drops like that. So you just come over from one side, pull and drop. And then I'm going to start to add some little movement, a little bit of movement in here. So it kind of makes it look like the rocks, like you can see them through the water. I'm going to take my filbert brush, add a little bit of green and purple. Not too much, don't overload. Add a few little taps here for some moss and bushes. A little bit more of the green and just a touch of white. Remember, we want this to be in shadow, so we don't want to have too much light here. Now we will have some sun beams coming down, which will add just little bits of light. Just a little sweep over the water. Okay, now we can start working on our leaves. And we're just going to make this really impressionistic, so just little blobby shapes using the round brush. This is a number 3. And I'm going to use some white and the warm yellow. Whoops. I'm going to start with a larger one here. You want to have a few little points. You can make any leaves you want. I'm going to come in with more paint. You want it to feel like they're really like kind of floating and falling around. You want to feel that movement. Okay, so we'll just paint a few like that. Have another one here. And this is just the first base coat layer. And then we can add some smaller ones over here. And go back and add a little bit of white inside. So you catch some of that light filtering through them and they glow. Add a hint of green. A little bit of orange. Make sort of a burnt sienna shade. And I want to have some smaller ones down here. Just going to scoop up a little bit of each of these colors. And then just ones that are kind of more blobby-like. And a little bit of light catching them. And a little bit more paint inside here. That warm yellow and white. Never over blending too much in one area though. I'm going to take my rigger brush and just add a few little lines in here. And I'm going to just water down a little bit of this purple and orange. First, I'm just going to come in and make a little scoop like this. Okay, so now I want to dry this all off. And then we can come in with our sun. I'm going to add the sun right in this area here. Okay, now it's time to add our sun rays. And our sun, first of all, we're going to add white right here with my filbert brush. And then go over the trees. And I'm just going to softly make a glow like this around the outside. I'm going to come in with a little bit of yellow, a little bit of orange and white. Pretty dry brush, hardly any paint on it. And just start pulling from the center. And go right over the leaves. I'm going to go over the center again in a little bit, but I want to go over to my neon rose. Add just a little bit. And you ever see sometimes the sun rays can almost make it look like they're just a prism of rainbow colors. So that's what I'm going to bring in here by adding a little bit of this pretty violet. And you can add a little bit of orange. It'll give you more of kind of a rusty color, and that's pretty too. See, you catch the edge of the leaves as well, and it's really pretty. I'm going to take some more of that orange and the rose and just glaze over some of these leaves here to add a little bit more color. Okay, now I'm going to go back into my white and tighter and shorter little flicks here, just with white on the tip. And then back to our white in the center. Use my little round brush here. And actually I'm going to just use my finger to soften that a bit. Just doing the same thing, those little flicks. Okay, I'm going to take a little bit of white with a warm yellow. And just make this glow a little bit more. Tiny amount of orange and yellow, and then a little bit of that rose. I take the white, soften, soften. Last little bit of yellow and white right there on that sun ray. This was really, really fun to paint. I love this one. I think I'm going to go hang this in my kitchen right now. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below, and thanks so much for watching. I'll see you soon in another video. Bye!